There we are. There we are. I'm always
Yes,
looking
we
for the
are.
red box in the corner, and it has popped up on us again. You ladies good this evening?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes. Now that I'm with my favorite friends,
All righty, right. All righty.
my
We,
bronze girls.
we're going to have a weekend review lineup tonight. Ruth's going to be first.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
oh, that
My phone.
was me. I thought, what I did. Ruth's gonna go first. I'll go after Ruth, and Victoria, you will go next, and we will get our week in review out of the way. I had an interesting week to share. So uh, yes, yes, yes. Let's see, and we got an interesting topic tonight. It's one we can all participate in, and I hope that our listeners and viewers will enjoy it tonight.
Yep.
Sometimes it's good to kind of peer behind the scenes a little bit of things that happen and things go on. So we're going to be doing that tonight, and I'm excited about that. And let's see, let's see. Next week we got a guest that we got lined up, and Ruth, you're going to be away next week, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we're canceling that. We need to.
Oh,
Oh, that we could. Oh, that we
the
could.
plane is canceled until after the show.
Oh, okay.
There you go. There you go. Well, I think we got everything lined up for tonight. Anything else in particular that we need to mention or take care of this evening?
Nope, I think we are good to go.
Okay, drum roll.
All right, here we
You
go.
ready, Ruth?
Oh.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Authors Up, our favorite place to be on Sunday evenings at 7 p.m. I am glad to be here, and I'm going to begin to welcome our viewers and welcome our listeners. And I think Victoria is still hearing the
Music. I'm
and
still dancing.
got her vibe going down there. So let me just say good evening to you first, Queen Victoria.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Good evening, world. Good evening.
I can tell you having a good evening, and we are happy about that.
Yes, I am
happy.
I am
And
happy.
Ruth, good evening to you. How you doing tonight?
I am well. How are you?
I am well.
All
Also,
right.
also
Good.
excited about tonight. I'm always excited when we get to share some things, and it's good when we have guests, but every now and then it's good when we can just chat. And actually, we had a good show before the show. Uh, just
Right. I was thinking, I was like, man, we should be talking about that when we on,
Yeah.
the show starts.
And we may get into it a little bit.
Yeah.
Ruth's going to guide the discussion tonight, so she hopefully will find a way to kind of weave, bob and weave, and get that.
Yeah,
back.
yeah. Speaking of weave, we want to bob and weave. See that new hairstyle back over there. That's so cute. That's so
Thank
cute.
you.
Oh, our glamour girl up there in the corner. She's rocking a new hairdo, and we're loving it.
Dude, so y'all made me feel. Hold on, let me put up my short wig.
Stop.
I don't know. Let me see. What is this? May is coming up. Maybe in May. Maybe by May, I'll have a new do. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
You never know what you're gonna get every Sunday with me.
And it's the joy because it's always looking good. So
Thank
nothing
you.
wrong with
Thank you so much.
that.
Thank you, darling. Thank you, darling.
Well, we're going to start the evening off as we always do with our weekend review. And Ms. Ruth, we're going to start with you tonight.
All right. Well, I had a good, interesting week. Work was work. Got to travel around the state a little bit.
Good.
But my daughter came in for a visit, and she literally
Right.
stayed about 30 hours, which which was
Awesome.
Out
interesting.
of the hours.
That's a good day, and so that's
It was.
good.
So we picked her up from the airport. I took her out to lunch. We hung out, went to church.
Which daughter now? Younger daughter?
Hannah, so the older one, so the hair. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Hannah, I was like, which one? What you mean, which one?
No, so she came in and she fancies herself our personal beautician, not beautician,
Yes,
barber.
right.
So um so she will come in to do our hair, and it's not that we ask her to, it's just that is her way in her mind of giving back to us. So I'm like, I'm not going to argue with you because I appreciate it. And I have not outside of her found anyone who can do my hair the way she does. So,
Right.
and we get the added bonus of hanging out. So,
Right.
yeah. So she came in and I tallied it up and I'm like, yeah, no, she was here about 30 hours,
And
before we had
amazing
to.
what you can do in a short
Oh,
amount
yeah.
of time. It's
Oh, yeah,
amazing.
no. And then the next day she cut her hair that night. And then the next day we just hung out. We went to the mall. We
Oh,
did stuff. So
nice.
it was really nice.
Does
that's
she
nice.
cut Javen's hair?
No. Well, I mean, they're siblings, so their job is to annoy each other,
Okay.
and
So
they
they
do
do
that
that well.
really well.
Mhm.
Do that really well. So
Okay.
now he does go to her for advice. He's gone to her for a referral and see if there's anyone he knows here. But there was at one point where he was like, "No, I'm gonna just get my friend to do it," and she would just be like, "Oh my God, please don't do that." So when his hair started falling out because his friends didn't know what they were doing, he was like,
Uh-huh. He
Hannah, I
has
need
a
some help.
beautiful head of
He
Gorgeous.
does.
hair.
He does.
Oh my
Absolutely
gosh, his hair is
gorgeous. All of
beautiful.
them do.
I
Yeah.
hugged him. I hugged him the other day, so I saw it up close. I was like, "It's beautiful."
Yep. Yep. So it's just anytime we have a question about hair, it's just like, oh, call Hannah.
Oh, Hannah.
Call Hannah. So
She does a beautiful job too.
yes,
Yes, she
yes, she
does.
does. She does. So that was honestly the highlight of my week, and it's been it's nice to have that.
It is nice, and I could see
Mhm.
you're still smiling and feeling
Yep.
joyful from it, and that gives me joy. That's nice.
Yep.
Very
Yep.
good.
So
Very.
Andrea, how was your week?
Well, I had a good week. I had a busy week. I've been trying my best to stay on task with health stuff.
Mhm.
Haven't gotten that exercise thing going yet, but
Okay.
in my head, I am running and doing chair exercise. And if I can get it out of my head
Yep.
and actually move and do that. But there's time. There's time. There's always time. So I did stick to my plan in terms of the NaNoWriMo project. And I did a chapter a day. So I got 10 chapters I actually
Yeah.
did get 10 chapters done. So I've turned that in and I'm going to continue, hopefully, to stay on that path and get those things written. Doing some editing on some things, started 2 new pocketbooks. So I've been busy writing. But one of the highlights was I visited a friend that I have not seen, I guess, for 2 years or so.
Mhm.
She's a lady that I met when I first moved here. She's been just a gem to my family and helped us out a lot, helped me out a lot when my mom was living with me before she passed, and just really stepped in a lot of areas. And we used to celebrate our birthdays together because they're only a few days apart. And we did that for
Oh,
years. And then after COVID and maybe a year or so after COVID, I just didn't see her anymore. We didn't talk, and I don't know what happened. I still don't know what happened, but she put something on Facebook the other day, and I thought, okay, I know she's home. I know where she is.
Oh,
I'm gonna move on this.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I sent her a little note, and unlike in the past, she responded immediately. And I thought,
Oh.
okay, I got you now. I got you now.
Uh-huh.
So I said, okay, when can I come visit?
Excuse me.
You know, and
Uh-huh.
she said, oh, pick a day. And I picked a day, and I picked Wednesday, and I took her lunch, and we visited for a while. And you know, I thought, when you have relationships over years that just kind of dissipate, and you don't know why, and you can find no reason to discontinue, then you got to do something about it. And I was glad that I called. She was very glad to see me, and glad that I had um, talked to her. And so I'm have put it on my calendar, if it's only once a month, that I will, you know, reach out, go to see her, and have lunch with her or something like that. And she doesn't go out a lot, neither do I, but we are both word fanatics. So I think there's something online called Words with Friends
Yes.
or
Yeah.
something like that. So I'm going to try to see what I can do to set that up so that she and I can communicate more, and not leave the house. But relationships are important, and people are important, and
Right.
I keep saying we care about people and not really let them know. So I was glad that I had the opportunity to do that. Now, my second big thing was not a good thing, but it was a
Oh,
thing.
okay.
I was leaving. I'm a city girl.
Okay.
Wildlife creatures, things that crawl, things
Nope.
that burrow, things that fly,
Nope. Mm-mm.
not me. Not me. So I had been having problems with chipmunks and in the yard, and they were just having a blast. They were just digging their little holes and going all over everywhere. So I called a person to help me deal with the chipmunks. Well, the chipmunks have gone away, pretty much. I don't see them like I used to. But I was walking up my steps outside, and I saw a little hole, and I thought, oh, chipmunks are back. Because they dig a hole, I'd fill it up. They dig one, I'd fill it up.
Right.
Don't be here, I'm not going to make it easy for you. So I looked in this hole, and I thought, the chipmunks are back. And then I thought, no, that's a rock. And then I thought, those are eyes.
Oh, you know what?
Oh,
Those are eyes looking up at me.
oh no. Mm-mm.
I
That's right.
hurriedly went to the car, and I thought, what in the world? And Linda came home and said, I think there's a snake in the yard. And I said, no, that's not a snake. That's something else. I said, I think it's a frog, because it has eyes like a frog. So we have been gingerly going up the steps, and I'm like, the last thing I need to do is run from whatever this is,
Right.
fall, or have something happen. I said, I got to figure out what this is. Well, we have figured out that it is something called a skink, Skink.
What?
There is nothing in my yard that would attract this thing. It's like a lizard. It's a type of lizard. And I looked it up online, and it has stuff in there about what good pets they make. And
Oh, wait a minute. I didn't see you make a call out for a pet.
and be careful so you don't frighten it. And I'm thinking, no. This has got to go. This has got to go. So skink,
A
Skink.
skink.
And,
Okay.
and be careful so that you don't, you don't break its tail. I thought, nah, wait.
It come out that hole. Something about to get broken.
I am sorry. I am sorry. So I have called the appropriate people for assistance, and I'll just leave it there. But it has got to. Let me tell you, when I look down and I'm down, I'm because I can't see it good, and I'm bending over and I'm looking down. I thought, oh no, those are eyes. That's looking back at me. It's got to go. It's
Okay.
got to go. So the majority of the rest of my week was spent in searching out people who would be of assistance to me.
I'm looking at you. You looking at me.
And I'm thinking, why am I getting these things in my yard? My neighbor, of course, she likes critters.
Oh, good.
The chipmunks come up and she feeds them out of her hand.
No,
She thinks everything is a pet, which is fine. And I'm real happy for her. But I want this to be in her yard.
Right. Tell us Skink to go over there. She'll feed you.
Never again in mine. Never again in mine. So I will give you an update next week.
Of the skink removal?
Of something. But it's not paying rent. It doesn't do anything that is of any benefit for me. It will not be a pet. I am not. So
you got it. I'm gonna look that up because
there's not a lot of people that I talked to that knew what it was.
Right. I want to see what it looks like.
It looks like an average lizard, like a salamander, but it's it's a critter. So it doesn't matter. It can be as cute as it want to be, but
no, cute it's not. Those eyes are not cute. No, nothing cute about it. And I'm certainly not trying to keep it, catch it, put it in a box. None of that. None of that. And they are fast. That I do know. They are fast. So hopefully it will quickly leave my yard.
Okay.
That's the goal. Hey, Leah.
Hey, Leah, how are you tonight?
Good to have you with us tonight. Good to have you. So that was my week in review. Miss Victoria.
Well, my week wasn't nearly as exciting as either of yours. So this is going to be really sweet and short and sweet. It was work, and more work. Yeah. But I did manage to work more on my outline, and I definitely have some more ideas of how the story is going to go on my project. So I'm really happy with the direction. So doing that outline is definitely helping me see where some gaps are, and being able to fill those gaps and continue on with the story. So I'm really excited. It's probably going to have about 21 to 22 chapters. So
I was thinking more like 30,
but it might, but it's shaping up. It's shaping up.
That's the important part.
Yeah. So I haven't actually done any writing, but there are some. The roadmap is becoming really clear. Of
did you write the outline?
Yes, I'm writing the ideas in the outline. Yes. Okay. So like I said, the outline is shaping up.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was it for me. Just work, more work.
Okay, well, Miss Ruth is gonna guide us along our pathway tonight. So
okay,
tell us what we're up to, Miss Ruth.
So tonight we're going to talk about why we write what we write and why we as writers tell stories. And to me that is interesting, and I think we'll start there. Because earlier this year I had the thought, what is the purpose of being a storyteller? And it struck me because I never thought about it. I've been doing this for 20 years, and if you count when I was writing as a child,
right,
40 plus years I've been writing stories, but it never occurred to me, what is the purpose of storytelling? And I do what I do. I love the internet, I love technology, and I looked it up and I was like, okay, so what is the purpose of telling stories? What is the purpose of why we write? And this is what I found. Ultimately, and it's talks specifically about fiction, but I believe that this goes into nonfiction as well, because regardless of what we write, we are telling stories. Whether the story is a true one, whether it's based
Right.
on something, whether we're telling any particular, if we have a thesis, whatever it is, we're trying to tell a story. So it says that ultimately fiction is about what it means to be human. It
Hmm.
makes us more empathetic. It helps us, it makes us better people. It improves our ability to identify and understand other people's emotions. It equips us to negotiate complex social relationships in the real world with greater skill. In this context, the writer essentially helps us connect to our own humanity. So the quirks of invented characters make us smile, their troubles become ours. We share their laughter, their tears, and walk with them as they muddle along in their search for beauty, truth, or meaning. And this is the magic of fiction, or storytelling. A good novel or story gives us a better understanding of ourselves by drawing us into the lives of characters that have sprung from the writer's imagination. Um, see, it is Fiction is essential to the survival of the human race because it helps us to slip into the other's skin. It builds tolerance because it gives us an opportunity to see the world from different perspectives. It is a shining beacon of hope in an increasingly intolerant world. And obviously, I got that from somebody's blog, but th- that is someone's opinion. But it is, to me, that is the essence of storytelling. And it is, um, I think, what it means for us as writers, why we share stories. Now, there is a why to what we do individually. I believe that's more of a collective thing.
Mhm.
But individually, when whoever came up with the idea of the topic this morning, it was, why do we write what we write? Because we are, here, we talk about being a forum for authors by authors. We are, we cover different aspects of writing. Andrea, you're a poet. Victoria, you are a blogger. Those are very different areas of writing. I am mostly a fiction author. So those are different mediums, different ways of storytelling. So, tonight I think our focus is going to be on why we write what we write, you know,
Mhm.
and I think that there are, very different reasons, but I think they fall into, different types of categories. We write what we read, we write what is burning in our hearts, we write what we love. And I think that that's where our discussion will be tonight. Why do we write what we write? And then we're going to read a small piece of what we write. So,
Love it.
um, yep, yep. So, who wants to start tonight? Why do you write, Victoria?
You know, maybe you'll understand what I'll say, and you probably will. I write because I have no choice but to write.
Mm.
And when I say I don't have a choice, when God starts speaking, we talked about that before the show, about how God speaks to each of us and gives us the inspiration of what comes out of us. Sometimes I get a topic and he's just downloading it so fast, I can't not stop and write it. It's like I've got to get this out. I've got to get it out. And so I've found, and when you were talking about that you've been writing since you were a child, I remember writing a poem um in rhyme for my friend's funeral program that he passed when we were 16. And I wrote this poem called He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother. And it was my first printed thing, right? But and I was writing little stories. I write because I've been an avid reader. I don't even remember not liking to read. I
Mhm.
as far back as I can remember, I've always had books. I've always had to read whatever I could pick up. My mom told me I'm like her. She said she would read the dictionary. But I didn't get that far, but I wanted to read. I always wanted to read stories. I love reading stories. But as a child, I never visualized that I could be an author because nobody said to me, well, why don't you take your writings and publish them? It was, the only person who really pushed me in my writing was my English teacher. And I remember her distinctly. Her name was Mrs. Sims. And we'd have to write little short essays and different things. And she pulled me aside after class one time and told me, Victoria, your writing is just so good. So where do you come up with it? And how do you write? I'm like, I don't know. I was paying her no mind anyway. I just want to go with my friends, But I'm remembering that now as we speak, that there was somebody who was encouraging me to write. And I didn't even recognize that until right this moment, that I had like a little mentor. And every time I turned in my assignments, I always wanted to make sure it was good enough for Miss Sims, She was the teacher that told us what a dangling participle was. But I write what I write because for me, writing inspirational stuff, I write what I want to read because I want to read. When I pick up something, I want something that's encouraging. I want something that is going to push me to continue going. And so I try to fill that particular void for others, to write something that will be something that somebody can pick up, anytime and go, wow, that was powerful. That's given me the strength to move on. So that's it. And now I'm trying my hand in a fictional story, and I'm really excited about this process. I'm really excited about this book coming into the earth because I also think it's going to help someone too when they read the story. And I'm just so excited about it. I just got to find the time to dedicate to finishing it. But I'm really learning to carve out that time each day. But that's why I write, because I feel like I just have no choice. It has to come out of me, or it's like my head is gonna bust sometimes. That's not funny.
No, and you're not the only one that I've heard that. Writers write because they have to. I mean, that is how we express ourselves,
Right.
and it's regardless of how the medium that we use or how we do it has to come out of us. And,
Right.
in the same way that an artist has to draw, in the same way
Right.
that a musician has to sing or play music. It just
Right.
it's an extension of us, and it has to come out of us in some form. And I like that you said, encouraging, you write what's encouraging. And more often people think, oh, well, it's just, devotion. It's just this, but it can be fictional as well.
Right. Right.
It doesn't have to live in one genre. It can
Oh,
be something else to encourage other people.
great. I love that. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. I love it.
Mhm. So, Andre, why do you write what you write?
When I think about this, I think about I think about writing the evolution of the writer in me.
Mhm.
I'm going to write that in a little book because I think about when I first started writing, I think about all of the things that I discarded, all of the things that
Mhm.
I tossed, because I would go back and look at them and I would think, nobody wants to read this. Nobody wants to hear this. Doesn't have any value at all. And then I joined a group called the Metropolitan Literary Associates. And we would read our work at libraries and at different events and things like that. But it was always topic driven, and I knew what I was going to write about. My mother was a poet and, was in numerous anthologies and won competitions and all. And she was always the one at church that they would call upon, Miss Henson, we need a poem for, Deacon Jones' anniversary. Write a poem for Deacon Jones' anniversary, So I know that the writing comes from her. My aunt was a writer, a lot of writers in my family, but I didn't really get the importance of it until I wrote these little books. I call them little pocket books. They're little books, and they have what I call either little collections of poems or story poems in it. And I realized that what I write is, while it is for me, because I feel we're first partakers of the things that we write, the words are so necessary for other people. We talk about the fact sometimes, if it's when we're looking at algorithms or we're looking at numbers and things for our shows and our programs and all, and we think if it's just one, if it only hits one person, then it's worth it all. Because you never know whose life you might be saving, or whose journey might be changed or turned or whatever. I wrote for a long time for other people, ghostwriting. I wrote for CEOs for their newsletters for their companies. I wrote for ministers for products that they had going out in newsletters, and I did a lot of that. But it wasn't until I think that I did my first collection of poetry, and I started looking at why I wrote certain pieces and all of the things that came together with that, and how amazing God is at orchestrating and doing things like that. And tell you one little short story to give you an example. I got a prayer request from someone. They were asking for prayer for their son, and at the end of it, she would simply sign it his. That's his. And I looked at it and I thought, wow, of all that she's going through and all that's happening with her son and all of that, she is still giving God glory. Giving God glory. So one day I got a call from a lady in DC who said, I have this little book and I want to know how I can get more of them. Well, the book was a book called Just Because I'm His, which I wrote and dedicated to this lady, the lady with the child. The woman in DC happened, when I was telling her the story of the book, happened to go to the same hairstylist as the woman who had asked for the prayer request.
Yep.
In addition to that, there was a minister whose word I listened to when I had cancer right before my operation that I had lost touch with. She went to his church.
Wow.
And there was this whole weaving
of
connectivity with what he did. So when I write and I know that I am writing what he is giving me, right, I know that it is so far beyond what I think the meaning is and what I think the message is. I thought one day, I said, God, I got this little distribution list of about 30 people and I want to write for your glory, but I just don't know why am I doing what I'm doing? Like the question is tonight, why am I writing? Why am I doing all this? And one of the people that was receiving it on my distribution list happened to be an organization, international organization for polio survivors. And he was sending it to his entire distribution list. And I said, can you ask people where they're from? I'm not going to call them, not going to contact them. I'm just curious. Well, they were from South America, and they were from the UK, and they were from Canada, and they were just from everywhere, What did I get out of that for my reason to write? I have to be obedient. He's given me a very unique gift. And that is to be able to write and to speak what he says, his words. And I never get it confused. They're his words for you, not my words. They're his words for you. And when I do that, even when I question myself and say, why, what's the reason? Somebody will call me. This, I was having my own personal pity party one day. No one was in attendance but me. But have a good time. But in the middle of it, I got a call, and this lady said, "One thing I know for sure, you know exactly what God has called you to do." And I thought,
Wow.
hmm,
Wow.
really now? You
Wow.
know? So sometimes when I struggle with it and when I think, the point and the purpose, and you begin to look around and how far other people have come and what they've done and this, that, and the other, I have to remind myself that we are so unique in what it is God has put in us and placed in us to do.
Mhm.
And He's done it for somebody else, not just for you, but there's somebody who needed to read the book that you wrote,
Yeah.
because we interject ourselves into these stories. It's like when you're watching a good television show and you go, "Don't go around that corner."
Right.
He told you to sit in the car. Why aren't you sitting in the car?
Uh-huh.
and, and when we're reading, we're doing that same thing. We're putting ourselves in there. We're thinking, okay, I don't think I would have done that. Let me read this next chapter and see,
Right.
how they're going to react to that and how they're going to react to this. So it is crucial for me, because I do believe that it is why I'm here.
Amen.
Mhm.
Why I'm
Mhm.
here. When I look at it and I think, why do I write? I write because that's what He put me here to do.
Amen.
And He knows exactly who He needs to see it, who He needs to have it, and what
Yes.
He wants me to write about. So I'm just
Yes.
obedient to be His pen. That's where
Mhm.
I am. That's where I am.
Okay. Okay. Well, good evening, Angela.
Hey,
I
Angie.
have to say, um, mine might be closer to Victoria because it took me a long time to accept that I was a writer. Even and here's the funny part. I was probably like 15 or 16. I was writing, but I wasn't sharing it with anybody.
Okay.
And my sister's friend actually came up to me and asked me to read what she had written and possibly edit it. And it didn't occur to me until like 30 years later that I've been doing that. This has been inside me all along,
All along.
all along. And
Yes.
it's just, I don't know anything else to do. And,
Yes.
and that's the God honest truth. I don't, whatever it is, it's just like I write, I edit, and even, I sit there and tell people, I was an artist first. I went to school for art. And I do believe I have a talent for art.
You
But it's just
certainly do.
I put that before the writing, not realizing that no, the writing is I think the art goes with what I do, but
Mhm.
the writing was always there. What I wrote, the stories that I imagined, Um, and like Victoria, I can't do anything else. My mind is always going, it's always on the next story, and it's always about, okay, well, how would these two characters go? And until I get it out of my mind and on paper, it's just like I sit there and I have to think about it, and once I write
Yeah.
it, I'm good. I will go back
Right.
and read
Right.
it. No, I'm good. But I have to get to that point where I write it.
Ruth, you said when we were before the show, when we were
Yeah,
talking about different things, and you were saying that you see the words,
yes,
you see the
yeah.
words. That maybe that accounts for the fact that we see them too. When I read your book, I see the movie, I see the screenplay, I
Yeah.
see the person sitting by the side of the road or whatever it
Yes.
happens to
Yes.
be. I can see that. But do you think that it is your art, your gift of art, that puts you in that place where you see the words that way?
I do think so. And I say that because, part of our conversation before was, how does God speak to us?
Mm.
And I responded with I see the words, and part of, when I started accepting that I was a writer, I heard God tell me, just paint a picture of what you see. And to me, it was always, I wasn't the illustrator type. I'm more of a graphic designer, but to me, the whole concept is the same. I am putting together pictures of what I see. It's just for me, for first and foremost, I'm able to do that with words. So to say that, I'm going to paint, I think for me, the the line between art and written word is very fine. So
Mhm.
in my mind, it's just all, I won't call it a mess. It's an organized mess. Um, but it's just, it's a very blurry line. So for him to say, paint a picture, I automatically go to, okay, this is how I see it, and this is how I'm going to describe it.
Right.
So I try to convey that as I write so that you guys can see what I'm seeing.
Wow.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Wow.
And honestly, I think there are what, almost 8 billion people on this planet, and there are 8 billion viewpoints and 8 billion individual, personalities. And to say, if even like 10% of them were writers, there would be 10% of those people that would just everyone is different, and I think that, even to say that, Victoria, when I say, you and I have to get this out of us,
Right.
even if that is the same, we still have to do it in two different ways.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Because I don't see pictures. I don't see the words. It's
mhm,
just I hear it. I hear it, and I gotta write.
I think
mhm,
it's that way with most writers,
mhm,
whether we recognize it or not. I think that there's something because I see Angie on the line and Leah on the line who are both writers and
Mhm.
of course who write very differently and
yeah,
very different things and very different from the three of us.
yeah,
But the stories that they tell have been stories that they are passionate about on
mhm,
some level. And I think that that is the story for most of us who write,
yeah,
whether it's poetry or blogging or Ruth's wonderful fiction and romance that she writes, and we get to this point of thinking, okay, and even with writers who shelve,
mhm,
who put things on the shelf and they'll stay on the shelf for years, but at some point, they come back at some
yeah,
point. They've got to get it finished. They've got to, something happened or somebody said something or however it works out, that you come back, you dust it off and you
mhm,
think, okay, I'm going to go ahead and finish this. Maybe it wasn't the time. And you get to a point, and I think this is where we get messed up, if you will, that we want to get it done and we
yeah,
want to get it
Mhm.
out, and we get to the point of saying, I don't care whether anybody reads it or not. I just want to get it done. I want to finish it. I want to be that author. But it's got to go somewhere else other than with you and your editor. you
yeah,
know. And I think that's sometimes what affects our marketing plan,
yeah,
because we are in that zone, we're in that vein of getting it on paper and finishing,
yeah.
having the spirit of a finisher, want to get it done, want to get it done. But yeah, yeah, I think we've all got that drive.
And I'm glad you brought that up because, again, everything takes time. Our pastor's been talking about that. There's a time set for everything. And the thing is, when a woman is pregnant, it takes 9 months.
Yes.
A child can be born before that, but there could be
Yeah.
complications. It
Right.
takes 9 months to create a fully functioning, healthy human being.
Right.
So we ought not to push out these projects before they're done, and whether that is publishing a novel or even, like again, I'm doing the serialization of one story online, and I'm able to sit down now and say, okay, it's going to take me about 6 hours from the time I take uh, take what I've outlined, what I've planned for the chapter, to outline it, to write it, to go back, edit it, and then proof it, and then get ready to publish it. If I shortchange any part of those 6 hours, I'm not going to have a very good chapter.
Okay.
So I have to understand what the process is. And that goes in, it's just part of the process. Again, we talked about marketing a couple weeks ago. We don't want to, but it is part of the process now. And I was acknowledging, and I thank you for bringing that up, because more often than not, we're just like, oh, I want to get it, I want to hold it. I finish forming the human being, and then you can
Yes. Finish forming, and that's what I'm in the stage of now. I got to finish forming it.
Mhm.
Love the analogy.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to ask you one question though, Ruth. And
Yeah.
I heard you mention 6 hours.
Yes.
I look at television sometimes, these TV movies, and the writer goes off to write. Go to the cabin in the woods.
Right.
They go, whatever it is they have to go.
We don't have a cabin in the woods.
A place where they can write. How in the world do you manage to take those 6 hours, edit for other people, help them birth their babies,
Come on.
and work?
How in the world?
How do you prioritize your day? Because I was looking at how long I had set a goal for myself for the second volume of And It Is So, that I wanted to do 10 pieces a day. I want to come up with 50 pieces. I have chosen the 50 pieces, but now I've got to go back and put them in order and kind of do my own little editing thing before I can turn it over. So I said, okay, well, I'll do, 10 pieces a day. Well, yeah, that'll get my 50 down. And 2 hours later, I'm on piece number 2. I'm like, how am I going to do 10 of these? And
wait a minute, that stuff you wrote already, right?
I already wrote. But I'm going back over and I think, okay, is this one too much like this one? Do I need to change this word? And I am overthinking in some cases, I know. Overworking in other cases, I know. But how do you
come up with a whole story in 6 hours?
Yeah, you've got a key. You've got a secret.
You got something.
And now's the time.
She gotta teach a master class on that or something.
I'm working on that.
How do you manage? You just said, in 2 hours, this is what I'm gonna accomplish, and you push yourself to accomplish that in 2 hours and move on to that. How do you manage? How do you manage to do it?
You know what? And I'm not flippant when I say this, but part of me will answer, I don't know. And the other part will say, you know what? I do know, because it is work, and Victoria, I applaud you for being honest. Sometimes we got to figure out what the priority is. Yeah. And like I said earlier, it took me a long time to say, you know what? This is who I am. I am an author. I am a writer. I am a publisher. I am an editor. And those are the things that I excel at. So I need to excel. And the thing is, I had to come to the place where I was realistic about what I could output and how much I could output.
Right.
When.
Okay. Right.
And that is the thing, because in our minds, we are, hey, I can do everything. I will do 10 little entries tonight and I'm going to get it done. No, that is not. And the thing is, it was trial and error. I had to figure out, because again, my goal is to begin serializing my next stories. So I have to understand now what I'm going to be doing later. So, I find the tools that I need. I figure out, because I started off, I was like, I'm going to get this done in 3 hours. 6 hours later, I was like, no, I'm going to need more time.
Right.
I think that's key, that what you said right there, because I think sometimes we beat ourselves up when we have to reset.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's okay to reset. I'm looking now and I'm saying, okay, if it is taking me this long and what I am doing is a comfortable thing for me to do, because
Mhm.
I've got to do it at some point before
Yeah.
I turn it over. I got to look at the grammar. I got to look at the punctuation. I got to do all of that. So maybe instead of 10, I do 5.
Right.
Nobody has put pressure on me to get it done.
No.
It is when I decide that I'm going to get it done. But
Yeah.
I think the thing that has to be there is consistency.
Right.
Yes.
I can't decide that 10 pieces doesn't work for me, so I'm not going to do any.
Right.
Right.
I'll have
Right.
to cut it back. Maybe I have to cut it
Right.
back to 5
Right.
and get in all the other things that I need to get in, or establish in the beginning that this is not the end.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know,
And,
as
and,
I'm
and I
doing
think,
this fiction thing, I know that what I'm doing right now is not going to be the end. I'm going to still have to go back, and there's still work to do.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I was going to say for myself, I had to be realistic in my own expectations of what I'm doing. And I also had to really look at some of the things that I am doing that are taken away from my writing. Do I really need to do X, Y, Z? If I can spend time watching a series like it's something on Netflix, right? And it has 8 parts to it. And maybe eight of those parts are 45 minutes each. I'm supporting somebody else's work by watching that because I'm engrossed in that story. Well, what about the story that's within me? What about the story God gave me? So
That's good.
it's about priorities. And
Yeah.
I really had to have a talk with myself in the last couple of days. Victoria, you say this, God gave you this story, he started a dream, whatever. But what time are you really investing in? What time are you investing in you?
Right.
You are more important. And it is great to support other people's dreams. And I had to have that talk with myself too. I want to support other people because I see nobody else in my family is maybe supporting this person and whatever. But has that person supported me? Has that person done shown me the same that I'm showing them? And it's about having to be just a little bit selfish because I'm chasing after my own dreams here.
Mhm.
I want my book to be a good book. I want it to bless other people, and I want it to get as many hands as possible. But I gotta write it.
Yeah.
I gotta spend time writing it. But I'm trying to do so many other things. I've got to still the noise in other areas, so I will have time. And if I just structure my day differently, the time is there. It's how am I using the time?
There you go. There you go. And there for me, it is becoming a thing. Yeah, I got my to-do list and things that I need to do. And I got my little book and I write things down in my little book. This is what I got to do today. But at the top of that is nice versus necessary. What on this list is nice and what on this list is necessary.
Yeah.
Because there are times that I am like you. I get pulled in by the one-eyed demon and I will sit in front of that television and I will watch that series. But if I'm going to watch that series, I'm going to plan to watch that series.
Yep.
I'm going to set aside time to watch that series. And then that series is not in the way of or taking time away from the other things that I know that I have to do.
Right.
We got to work smarter. We got to not work as hard because then we take away the fulfillment of it all.
Right. And the
Because
joy.
it becomes
And procrastination. You know, procrastination is key. I have waited until the very last moment to do my taxes. I've not filed my taxes yet. Okay.
Me either.
That is not like me. I would usually have done mine in January or February. I can't even begin to tell you what the problem was this year. But I didn't do it. So now I got to do it. So
I have to do mine too, but I also know that it works just as well for me when I send in the form that says gonna be late. And I'm not, because the pressure when I'm late, that means my accountant's late.
right.
And I can't put that pressure on another person.
Right.
You know, I can sit around and say, oh, you know, I'm not going to do it. I get it done on the 13th or the 14th or whatever, but they've got to finish it, you know. So I said, just send in the notice, you know, for the extension, and everybody will be happy and we'll make it okay.
Yes,
But
we will.
I can't put myself in a place to beat myself up
Right.
all over things that I can have control of.
Exactly.
And these are some things that we can have control of and have great outcomes. And I see, oh, the light came on for just a minute, Ruth, for just a minute. I got to see the color.
Yes. Well, we don't have time to read our stuff, but that's fine.
No, but
That's
it's a good
fine.
conversation.
That's okay.
Yeah.
We will have time another time.
That's right.
That's right.
Another time.
No
And I
problem.
think we are just about out of time, actually.
Yes,
Yep.
we are.
We are over time. Over time. But I appreciate all of the input from
Yeah.
you, Ruth, and from you, Victoria.
Likewise.
We always, when we come together, because we are so different in our method and our process and in the things we do, but yet come together to produce something that we always hope will be of help to our viewers and our listeners.
Yes.
And I think we have done that tonight. And I thank everybody who showed up and who joined in. And
Yes.
we had some writers with us tonight. And I know there are always
Yes.
people who listen and who view that don't make comments, but we thank you as well. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. Ruth, you always have the final comment as to where they can find us.
Absolutely. So we are we are on social media. We are on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube as well. So you can find us at Authors Up Show on all of those programs, all those platforms, excuse me. So if you want to catch a replay, if you want to see what we're doing, what we're working on, what's coming up next, go ahead and follow us. Go ahead and subscribe. We are also, you can send us an email at authorsup@gmail.com if you're curious about how to be on the show, if you want more information, any books that we've shared or anything like that, shoot us an email. We're always happy to chat with you. And also we will have, if you are love Facebook and you want to catch a replay, we always do a replay of Sunday's show on Saturday night, so you can catch us then. That's where we're at.
Well done. Well done. You do such a good job with that.
Thank you.
I hope Victoria's ready next week to follow your lead.
You know what? I'll be ready. I'll be ready.
That is it for us for tonight. Again, thank you so much for joining. We did go a little over our time tonight, but we hope that you felt that it was worth it and that you will come back and join us again. As Ruth said, we will be right back here on Sunday evening at 7 p.m. Please join us. Make time out of your day. Put us on the necessary list, not just the nice list, and enjoy what we bring to you and the people that we introduce you to as we continue with this programming. Again, thank you for being with us. Come back, because you never know what's going to happen when you tune in to Authors Up. Good night, everybody.
Right,
Good night.
Night, ladies.